You're listening to Talking Law, the podcast where business owners just like you discover how to avoid legal landmines and build value using smart legal tips.
Hi, it's Joanna Oakey here and welcome back to Talking Law, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. Now, welcome to the second half of our two-part series with Matt Barnett of Bonjoro. In part one, we drilled into the concept of enhancing client relationships through systems and through technology like Bonjoro. We also talked about the connection between having a strong client relationship and being able to prevent legal disputes with clients into the future. Now, in today's episode, we get more specific and go through a 7-point plan in delighting your customers, based on a white paper that Matt and his team at Bonjoro put together to help business owners enhance relationships with their clients and customers. So keep listening and we'll get started. Matt, I saw in your white paper that you have a 7-point plan to create an approach that aligns with your business culture. Maybe I think this, sets out a good action plan for all of the listeners here, whether they're using Bonjoro or something else within their organisation to deepen those client relationships. So maybe if you can take us through the 7-point plan that you guys have put in place.
This plan is to specifically delight customers.
Fabulous.
And delight is the term we use for surprising and adding these human touch points when they're not necessarily expected. So the first one is to identify key customer moments. So you're going to have touch points, for instance, first contact, first follow-up, when you close a project with them the first time, when you move on to the second one. I think with this journey, try and map out all the common touch points with your customers, and you've got to look at which ones make sense to do automated communication and which ones you should be reaching out in person. So for instance, I would always say that first touch point should be in person, via Bonjoro or phone call, anything like this.
This is a really good point in relation to using something like video in one of those first touch points, because quite often we'll build terms and conditions for our clients. So before our clients engage in a business relationship with their clients, they'll be sending terms and conditions. But terms and conditions on their own can look a little bit stark. So it's really nice if you can take both the legal protective elements, so, you're setting up your relationship correctly from a legal perspective, but then you're also adding on top of it these personal elements, like, for example, the Bonjoro welcome video that adds personality and talks about the important elements of what it's like to work with you, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's the second element in your 7-point plan?
So this comes down to culture, understanding your own business culture and kind of values. So we phrase it as take time to find your own values. Depending on what those are, this will actually limit and help shape how you talk to customers and when you can talk to them. So for instance, in some legal fields, there might be areas where you have to come across absolutely professional. But then there's going to be other touch points where you can take your tie off and relax a little bit with the customer. And it's understanding when those are and how you, and not just you, but your team as well, can, I guess, communicate and build relationships with those customers.
If we can use a bit of an example here so that we can make this real for our listeners, let's take Aspect Legal as an example. Maybe if you can work me through this process looking at Aspect Legal. So our values here are excellence of service, firstly, secondly, innovation, and third, client care. So they're the 3 absolute cornerstones of our values within our organisation. So how do you suggest we can use customer delight within this framework of our values?
I mean, you've kind of given me the easiest ones to work with here.
Fabulous.
I think if those are kind of true to your core, then using different methods to communicate with clients and to go above and beyond with them. Innovation has become a buzzword. When you're a company that actually does innovate and you communicate in different ways, and like obviously video coming through, and guarantee there's very few people in legal doing this, it just reinforces that massively. I mean, like I'd say you guys almost have more flexibility because of the innovation side of it. It means that you can try out new ways to communicate, and your clients should actually expect that.
Yeah, and I guess in law it's a fairly low bar to innovation, right? Because for the competition, not a lot of lawyers are highly innovative. So,
which I mean, like I look at these industries and I think it's amazing because the opportunity to stand out, to be frankly honest, is huge. And it's not a massive bar, as you say, a few things and you jump ahead.
Brilliant. What about number 3? Where do we go to next?
Number 3 is to begin to test some of your ideas at these key customer moments. I think this is an attitude very much embraced by the kind of tech world a lot because it's hugely competitive. We're all trying to build things fast as we can. And we get this idea where we test and we test and we test and we test. And so my team will test 10 things a week. And if we throw 8 of those in the bin and 2 of them work out well, that's a great week. It's this attitude of you don't need to go and plan everything ahead and have everything in place because it just wastes time. But this idea of if you have ideas which key customer moments will work, just go and try out some new methods of communication, test them out, do it one afternoon on a Friday, don't spend too much time on it. You'll very, very quickly see if it's got legs. Only if it has legs, go to the next step and dig in a bit deeper and start to refine over time. This attitude of just testing stuff and trying it out because you never know. And this is the innovation part. The big mindset of innovation is being willing to try things out and fail in little ways, knowing that after 100 tests, you're going to be 2-3 times better at whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs who are used to feeling like they need to get things perfect each time before they push things out to market. And I guess this is such a good point, rather than aiming for perfection and, going for the whole big project, just test little things, incrementally over time and let failure happen, rather than trying to be perfect all the time, I guess, and waiting until everything is perfect.
And this applies not just to kind of products and stuff, but I think relationships. And interesting what you were saying earlier about mistakes being made when people don't communicate. And I just, you wonder if with relationships, you can kind of test relationships with little nudges here and there at the beginning that might save you jumping in feet first, down the line and making mistakes.
That's a really great point. Yeah. And look, anything that you're doing in this sense of testing, I guess, is helping in any event to think about ways to deepen the relationships with your client. So what are examples here of someone, say, for example, who might jump on and try Bonjoro out? What's an example of the sorts of things that they can be testing, that a business can be testing along the way? Each of their Fridays in the 10 minutes that they're allocating to testing, as you've suggested.
Yeah. So one thing they should absolutely do is not just test Bonjoro. We are a communication method. Try out a few more as well before I go into kind of Bonjoro itself. Like try different things. Bonjoro can be one of your tests. Now, when you use it, you might want to use it with a few new leads that come in. You might want to use it with a few existing clients. You might try out different team members. You will find some of you are much easier on video and more natural. Others might not enjoy it. There's definitely personality types that work with this. Try them, in the office versus when you're getting a coffee. Yeah, like test these things. But don't just, jump on Bonjoro and try that. Try that out for sure. But think what else you can do. Like if you've never used SMS before in any kind of meaningful way, give that a go. If you've never, interacted on different social channels, try that. If you've never, tried sending little postcards, there's all these different things you can do that are just unexpected, and some will work and some won't. And every business is different. Every customer is different. Find the ones that repeatably work well for you, but don't invest too much time and money and effort to get that answer.
I guess implicit in what you're talking about here is that a business allocates some time for testing and thinking in this area because, people in business are busy, right? We're all busy. There's a million things to do. And the idea of testing new approaches will, if a time is not allocated, a regular time allocated for the concept of thinking and testing, then it just won't happen because it will keep falling to the bottom of the list. So I think I hear in part of what you're saying here, set out your 10 minutes, a small period of time on a particular day of the week regularly, then that makes this whole concept of testing and refining a lot easier.
Yeah, and there's definitely a cultural thing here as well. So, Think about us with teams. So I think empowering your team members to be allowed to test things, maybe lowering that bar, allowing them to fail and be okay about it, which can be scary for some of us. But again, if they're small tests, it shouldn't be anything too impactful. And if you can empower your team, if you've got 10 minds instead of one, you're going to find that those things that work 10 times faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So then where do we move to next? What's number 4 in your 7-point plan?
So share your successes internally.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
So where you do have successes with clients and with customers, everyone on the team should share these out. If you are at the stage of using something like Slack or an internal communication tool, we actually really suggest putting up an entire channel where any of the team can post back any wonderful feedback from any customer at any time. And then other team members can ask, how did that happen? How did you get there? What did you do? And when you put this out, again, it comes back to empowering employees. It comes back to sharing. It comes back to celebration as well. And then it ensures that when good ideas are done, they can be propagated and repeated.
That's a great idea, Matt. I'm writing this down. That's my big takeaway today, I think. That's a really good idea, internal communication about what's really working.
So number 5 is, and then this is kind of a long-term thing, is to continue to refine these activities. So as a team, discuss what has worked and know that, we talk about perfection. You can get close to it, but it doesn't happen on that first point. It happens on, many, many, many iterations. And so when you find something that works, dig deeper, test again, test something slightly different, and then keep going down. And over months and months, you will get these little nuggets that come out that are absolutely genius, but they are never an overnight success. Nothing's an overnight success. It's all about iterations. So apply that to the way that you discover and do things that delight customers.
And then I guess implicit in that once again is that you are allocating time. So you're allocating importance to the concept of refining these ideas. So once again, testing and measuring.
Absolutely.
And where are we going next, Matt?
So next is to measure. So the one thing with this whole term we call customer delight is that everything you do in business, you should measure everything. We're massive fans of that. And this includes the kind of intangibles. So customer delight can be seen as being something quite fluffy. It has an absolute ROI on business. And that ROI comes in, higher lifetime values of customers. It means customers staying with you longer, spending more money. It actually does work now, but measuring this can be hard. So one of the things is, if you haven't tried it, one of the places to start is NPS. It's very well understood. So these are net promoter scores. Very simply, surveys that go out to your users that say, how likely would you be to recommend this to another person? And you'll get there'll either be a positive score, a kind of middle average, which is not counted, or a detractor. Out of those, when you build up enough of them, then you start to get back a score. And, you'll find the telcos in the world generally have negative scores because customer service is awful. Other brands, I'll go back to Announcer here. I think smash it, at 60, 70% or more. If you're getting above 70, it's amazing. If you're below that, the good thing is there's massive room to improve. And the good thing here is that you can measure it over time. And, if someone's going to want to refer you, this is the whole advocacy and word of mouth. And if you do things to delight customers and to provide excellence in service, it's one of the quickest ways to get people talking about you and wanting to spread the word. And so your NPS will actually rise over time. And then, depending how or kind of where you get to, you can over time measure the lifetime value of your average customer and see if that starts to rise. You can measure the average spend. And so just try and put numbers to these efforts you do, or try and find something you can measure to know if it's working, and then to share internally the impact it's having on the actual business. And that will then drive everyone to try more.
Well, it's fascinating that you raise this, actually, because we've always been really focused on customer surveys and trying to keep close to how our customers are feeling about our services and our service provision. But we just right now, about literally in 3 minutes' time, are about to send out an NPS survey to our entire database. So there you go. It's really good timing. And I think one of the brilliant things about NPS, as opposed to just more generic or in-house created surveys like the one that we have used up to date is that NPS is great in terms of allowing you to benchmark more easily.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and I think that's really when it's tried and tested. So big advocates of NPS, although we don't know what our score is. So we'll see. We'll report back on on that. But I think it's a really good point. If you're doing things, then watch the NPS or whatever your other measures are internally for how you work out whether you are in fact delighting your customers, whether the investments that you're making of time and perhaps also money are having any impact.
And remember, just if you do NPS, one kind of pro tip is when you do get back your advocates, those who measure very highly, a perfect time to go back and ask for a testimonial.
Yeah. Or
ask them to then act on that. Because most of your advocates, I think only 30% of advocates maximum will ever actually talk about you and bring you business. Not because they don't mean to, they just don't think about it. So when you get an advocate that comes to NPS, you just go back to them and say, hey, thanks so much for the high score. Would you mind doing a testimonial? And they'll go, absolutely.
Great. That's a really good tip. Thank you, Matt. Pro tip there. Good work. I'm taking notes. Well, did we get to the end of the 7 points or have we got a last one?
Not another set. Just one more. And this is the most important, is have fun at this.
I love it.
And when, you do get customers like revel in it. Enjoy it. It's immensely satisfying when you have customers come back and and they say, not only is the product and the service, and the consulting and everything else outstanding, but the support and the culture and the team and the communication is amazing too. Enjoy your moment when that comes in. That's yours and you deserve it. And again, share it out again. Enjoy this. Have fun. Don't take it too seriously. If you're having fun, it will be infectious and your customers will pick it up as well.
I love that, Matt, and you do that so well. I've seen the bear outfit that you guys adopt, and I guess that's your approach to fun. Is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to change the way that a business brand can be. I think we're at one extreme end of the spectrum. We don't expect others to go to this kind of length, but what we want to show is that, again, the whole world of business and consumer are coming close together. And just because we're wearing suits and ties, underneath that, it doesn't mean that we're not all going to be out on the beaches surfing or having a few beers on the weekend and being the humans that we are.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to, show that you can push those boundaries and that business is changing. Absolutely.
And look, we've almost run out of time on this episode, but I just really want to briefly cover, I saw when we started talking, you were wearing the 1% top and, I think we've got some values that, really align. Can you talk about what the 1% is and how Bonjoro approaches this concept of giving as part of a community?
Yeah, so the 1% pledge was something started by Atlassian, who you all know, and Salesforce as well. And many years ago, they decided to put 1% of their company into a fund so that if they ever sold, they would have some money to go and do good within the world. They then went a step further and they started giving away 1% of profit and 1% of product and 1% of employee time towards doing good.
Wow.
Now that started to grow, especially in recent years. We picked it up quite a while ago. We've come being one of the spokespeople here in Sydney. And so what we do is we do exactly that. We put 1% of the equity away so that, when we go and IPO one day, when the last IPO, they had a $60 million fund and they've gone and basically tackled, I think, female education in the Philippines. And they've gone after one thing and they're doing it and changing it. It's amazing. But, the other thing is just, giving products to social causes, giving employee time. So, 5 days a year, your employees get to go and work on causes that they want to work on, or you get together as a team and help a company or a fund do something good. Giving away profits as well to support things. And I think that the most important thing here to remember is this is not something to do when you make $100 million.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap, and especially with younger founders, more than anything, when you're in your kind of 20s and stuff, you should be starting from small roots, and it might not feel like you have a huge impact, but the point is it then becomes part of your culture. It becomes part of what everyone does. It becomes part of what's expected. And when you do get to, if you can, a Salesforce's size, I think Salesforce was saying that they had 35,000 charities that they support.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
It's more customers than we have. It's amazing, yeah?
It's just such a good point. My personal belief about the world is that generally people are very generous, and they want to give and support and feel like they're making a difference. But people don't always know how. And business is busy, right? It's really busy. And sometimes it can be really hard to work out easily what to do in an easy way. So I think this 1% pledge, I think in our notes we'll absolutely link to Matt and Bonjoro, but let's also perhaps throw in a link. Matt, I presume the 1% pledge has something that we can link to. So we'll link to this in our notes. And if you want to find out more, then head over to the link that we'll put in there to the 1% pledge, because this doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it's about just doing something, even if it's not a lot. I think just getting started.
Yeah, both Atlassian and Salesforce do a lot of events here in not just Sydney, but the other cities as well, that you can go along to and you can hear about it. And they do just an outstanding job of bringing other companies into it. They really are championing it. So go along to one of those, find out a bit more about it, and you'll meet some amazing people who are doing the same thing as well.
That's a really good bonus tip here. I love it, Matt. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. I think this has been really important information for businesses to really maybe reflect on. It's hard to reflect when you're listening to a podcast, but there's some really simple action points that you can take from this. If you want to find out about Bonjoro a little bit more, which I'm absolutely an advocate of, I think it's a fabulous software program. And that's why I have Matt here today, because I think the approach of Bonjoro is something that, is a really important yet easy step for businesses to make. So we'll put some links in our show notes through to Bonjoro, and you can go in and try Bonjoro out in your own organisation. And if you're interested in the 1% pledge, we'll also link there too. So thank you, Matt. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks. Wonderful to be here.
Great, thanks. And that ends today's episode and our two-part series with Matt Barnett of Bonjoro. As a quick recap, today Matt walked us through the 7-point plan to customer delight. The 7 points are identifying key customer moments, understanding your own business culture and values, testing new ideas, sharing your successes internally, continuing to refine these activities, and finally measuring and having fun. I like that last one. If you want to test out Bonjoro for your business, then please head over to our show notes at www.talkinglaw.com.au and look out for this episode. There we have a very special link that gives you a 30-day free trial with Bonjoro, but that's not all. If you continue with a paid Bonjoro plan, then Bonjoro and Aspect Legal have combined to contribute 30% of your membership fee to providing access to clean water for villagers in Cambodia by funding the building of pool pump wells. So by using the Bonjoro software to deepen your client relationship experience, you'll also be providing Cambodian villagers the ability to irrigate gardens or create fish ponds, improve their food supply and their health, and create the opportunity for income for them from the sale of excess provisions. That really is a true win-win-win, or win for your business, for your customers, and for the villagers in Cambodia. So once again, if you want to be part of this special program, just head on over to our show notes to find your link. Well, that's a wrap for us for today. As always, if you enjoyed what you heard, then please subscribe to Talking Law on your favourite podcast player. And thanks again for listening in. This has been Joanna Oakey and Talking Law, a podcast brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Talking Law. Tune in next time for more smart legal tips and tricks to keep you clear of those legal landmines. If you want to get a download of today's show notes, head over to talkinglaw.com.au.
Are you looking for a top quality legal team to assist you in your organisation? Aspect Legal is an innovative commercial legal practice that specialises in providing fast and professional services for their clients. If you'd like to chat about how we might be able to assist you, simply head over to our website at aspectlegal.com.au. specialisinglegal.com.au to book in a time for a free discussion with one of our lawyers.